what has it been like to build one thing and believe in that thing and have conviction in that thing and be dedicated, focused, and committed to building Walk Fresh for the last 10 years?
It's been excruciating, man. It's been fun. It's been, I think the first word comes to my mind is, I'm trying not to use it because I also have a problem with how people always want to act like entrepreneurship is just this difficult thing. Oh my God, don't do it. But it's been difficult, equally fulfilling. I'm so grateful for everything, the good and the bad, right? But what it's been an excruciating pain. It's been very painful. And I think a lot of the pain comes from the type of person I am and how I build. I don't think, in retrospect, I don't think some of the pain was necessary, but I think it was because of the person I am, or it is. And it's been fulfilling because I've been able to change my family's life and, to an extent, my own life. And I would like to believe other people's lives, whether directly or indirectly. But I don't dwell a lot into that because I've worked my way out of the savior complex. So I don't dwell a lot into that. But it's been, in my own words, it's been dope. It's been the best thing I've ever done with my life, with my time. Yeah. It's like a baby, dog. You know, it's like a baby. But then I have a love-hate with it. Because I'm just like, this thing. And I'm just like, my baby. So, yeah, it's been amazing. It's been amazing, honestly, Brayaka. It's been everything that I never imagined. I always say people never prepare us for what this building thing is. And depending on what you want to build or how you want to build it. But I don't think anyone could have ever mentally prepared me, emotionally prepared me. And I'm glad no one did, right? Because then I don't think I would have dealt with it the way I dealt with it, or dealing with it the way I dealt with it, you know? A friend of mine once said, kids teach parents how to be parents. No parent wakes up knowing how to be a parent.
Yeah.
And I think my business taught me how to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know how to do that. So, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
You know, you said it was excruciating because of how you built.
Yeah.
What would you say that means to you? You know, how do you build as opposed to what I think other people say you should build? Because you do say, you know, if someone actually said to you, hey, look, this is what it's actually going to take, then maybe you might have had a different way of thinking about it or the experience that you had with it. But how do you build? And why would you say that has become, like, you know, some of the pain wasn't even necessary?
I built from the ground up, bro. Like, I don't know why I convinced myself. I always used to say to myself, don't skip any stage, right? And I internalized that so much that I struggle to skip stages. And when I look back, I'm just like, I didn't have to do that, bro. Like, I didn't have to go through that. But because I build from scratch, and I build from scratch because I'm always obsessed with the process. I get bored when what I've built materializes, right? I'm always fixed on the in-between because that's where I learn everything. That's when I meet people. That's when whatever, right? So what I mean, Hore, because of how I build, most of the pain that I experienced is because when I had people who wanted to help, I said no. Because I really felt like, for example, I used to say, this is third, fourth year in business. If you say to me at that time, if you say to me, yo, I want to invest in Walk Fresh, I'd say no. And when they said why, beyond the other reasons that I had, I'd say the lessons I'm learning now in bootstrapping this are going to make me the person you are today who's able to invest in other entrepreneurs. But my worry is that if you give me the money, you're propelling me forward quicker. But I'm worried about the lessons that I'm learning in between, right? What I need to learn first is how to make money. And if I can make money, then I'll be able to sustain this thing. And if I say I'm an entrepreneur, then I don't think I need handouts, right? So because of that, I really, when I look back, I'm just like, maybe I could have. Because then I look at some of my peers, right? 2015 was such a crucial year in the ecosystem because so many of us started that year, right? And I look at some of my peers, they're really further than I am, right? Depending on what they or what I describe as successful or whatever. And because I'm a human being, sometimes I look back and say, but maybe if I... But then because of how much I believe in how I do things and why I do things, I'm like, oh, I'm grateful that my center is solid, right? And no one can take away the lessons that I have, right? Long-winded answer to your question. Because of my stubbornness, because of my obsession with the process, it tends to take me longer to build things, but I build deep. I go down, and then like I go wide. So yeah.
What is the focus specifically on building one thing really taught you about yourself over the 10 years? You know, you're talking about how, you know, maybe you were stubborn in moments where maybe you should have been open to support.
Yeah.
But I think there's also a conviction in wanting to build the way you want to build. And you've learned about yourself, you've learned about business, you've learned about entrepreneurship because of the way that you chose to do things. So what are the things that you've learned about yourself throughout this journey? And like, you are now also still learning about yourself, but those things have now become the reason why this is working or has worked in the past?
I think my business has taught me different sides of myself, the good and the bad sides. But I think one thing I know I've learned about myself is my tenacity. Yeah, no, dog. Ain't no more. I mean, my boy. Yeah. I've learned that about myself, right? And I'm a very reflective person, right? I'm a very self-aware person, I'd like to believe. And I always also want to dig deep into why am I like that, right? And then I learned, man, through therapy and other means that it's from my survival instinct and how I grew up surviving with family background and right? And I applied that in my business, right? And how I do business and my endurance. I'm able to stick things out. I think if there's one thing I've proved to myself, and I'm not exempted to everything else that other people my age do, the lack of focus here and there, something else shiny comes in and you want to do it. But I think I've been able to pull myself back and say, we're here. I've started other things in the past and I've myself closed them and said, actually, no, we're here, you know? And I've also wanted to see what happens if I don't stop. I think that's my thing. You know, I used to say to Zolak, my friend, I said, I wonder what will happen if we don't give up. Like, I wonder, like, and I think because of that, I just keep saying, yo, this is bad. Like I'm in hospital, I'm in a psyche ward right now. This is the perfect time to leave this thing, right? And then I'm like, but if I don't, you know? So I think my endurance, and to a very toxic point, right? Where I'd say to other people, yo, dog, it's time to leave. Right? I've seen my friends struggle with certain things in business or certain businesses, and I'm like, Donam, exit. I'll see Paris. It's not a lose. You'll come back stronger. Exit. But I've failed to apply that to myself. I think I believe in my endurance so much to my own detriment. And yeah, my tenacity, my endurance, and me dog, you know, I used to think I'm impatient. I used to really think I'm impatient. I still struggle with ATM queues. I've never been in an ATM queue in more than 15 years. But I think God or the universe or my ancestors put me in this place deliberately to say, you think you're impatient, you're going to be patient with this thing, right? And in me being patient with my business, I've learned to be patient with myself, and I've subsequently learned to be patient with people. And my philosophy right now is life is long, you know, and if life is long, it requires you to be very patient and just take things as they come. So those are some of the things from the top of my head that I've I've picked up about myself, you know, and I try to apply in other parts of my life outside of business, you know, with the endurance, and just like patience, and just like seeing things through, man. Like it took me 5 years to finish a 3-year degree, right? And I think from there I was like, nah, actually I can see things through, right? I want to finish what I started, at whatever cost. That's just me. That's just how I'm built, you know. Even when if I'm exercising, if I said I'm gonna do 5Ks, if I'm like 4.2, I'm like I still have to go because I said 5K, you know. So for me, it's just how I'm wired. Yeah. So yeah, those are some of the things I think I've learned. I'm learning still, you know, about myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, in those early days,
Bro,
I'm
this
sure,
feels so
like,
tense, bro. Yes.
it's not like it's not like
No, because I'm thinking, I'm like, actually, what? You know? But yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's
Yeah.
good. It's good. It's good. I like
and
it.
I swear, like, it's not tense.
No,
at
I know.
all.
No, I know.
think it's just like,
bro, I've known you for 10 years. I know.
yeah. And like, I think back
know.
about the energy we had when I met you at the beginning, right? I think
Yeah.
my passion was always just like, and it speaks to this time thing that you talk about. Like, you don't know what you want to build at the very beginning. You just like, man, I think I can just like
Yeah.
tell great stories about entrepreneurs. And like, even if it's just my phone and my
Yeah.
earphone and
Yeah.
like people just looking at you like, why are you
doing?
What are you doing? You know, in those early days of like sneaker cleaning. And I think of you as one of the originators of this industry, right? And in South Africa, and someone who thought about this not as just like something that, you know, you're doing for family or friends. It was like, no, we're going to formalize this. We're going to build structure. We're going to build systems.
Yeah.
What does the early days of Walk Fresh look like? And, you know, what does it feel like? And what's that experience of basically trying to build an industry from scratch and helping people see the value in something that maybe they might have thought to themselves, oh no, I can just do this, but or I can just get like the kid down the road to do it. It's like, no, you want a different level of like service and experience.
Yeah.
What do those early days look like?
Terrible. The early days were terrible, bro. Like, and I'm grateful that for Facebook, because I documented all of it.
Yeah.
Like, I have the receipts, right? And I look back and I'm like, what the heck were we doing, right? But I think that's the beauty of being young, right? The naivety, nothing is wrong and nothing is bad. And because of how I'm raised, there's nothing to lose. And it sounds corny, but even at the time, I was just like, dog, what's the worst that could happen, you know?
Yeah.
So the early days were really like you were saying, when you're starting out, you don't really know what you're doing. But for me, there's always that conviction that there's something here, right? I've always known this. Like, even in all my videos back, I knew. And it's difficult to explain it to people, dog. But like, there's a knowing that I've always had, and I still have with sneaker cleaning, right? And I struggle to explain it, but I've shown people. Right, over the years, I've shown people with different parts of the business, with business growing there and there, whatever we're doing. In some of the things that I've struggled to articulate, people have seen, right? And the early days were very weird because everything I was saying was new. Not new because I was saying something amazing, but in the spaces that I was saying it, right? And I'm grateful that I listened to the music that I listened to at the time, because also at the time I was listening to Reasonable Doubt.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And I think it allowed me to have the patience, right? Studying Jay-Z's journey in him pioneering Rockefeller and I knew what I was saying was crazy, but I think I've always known that the real honey is when people see it. Like when people finally see that it's gonna be crazy, right? And that's why I've always been on to the next, because by the time I open a store, I've known about it for like 5 years prior, right? And when looking at people watch it and be marveled by it, I'm like, yeah, this is it, right? So in the early days, I've always had the vision. Even in the videos, I'd always say, yo, we're building this franchise, we're building this thing, we're building whatever. And I think there was a turning point where I realized, oh, shoot, there's so many Lethabos around. And with all the knows that I'm experiencing with my privilege being my accessibility and access to certain resources, be it people, be it family members who can put me in a certain position, whatever. I've always thought about a kid in Goruman. Oh, imagine if this boy was at NYDA trying to explain this thing to them, right? When they said no to me with my big English, this thing is rigged, right? And I always deal with the world from my experience, from my lived experience. So I think the turning point was like, man, actually, I'm not building a business here. I'm building an industry, right? Because I realized that in all the things that I was doing, I was starting. I was the first person to do it. In me opening an account with a supplier, I was the first person with that supplier to ever open an account, and my business is a sneaker cleaning business, right? In me manufacturing a detergent, I was the first person with my, you know what I'm saying? And I was just like, yo, this thing is blank. Nothing is happening here, right? And I think the more I built, the more I saw the opportunity and I was like, man, I'm not building a business here. And if I don't take the responsibility, and it's a thankless job, bro. Like it's a thankless job, this thing. But
right at the beginning.
Right from the jump, right? But I think my why always keeps me intact, right? My why has always been to how do we rewrite the township business narrative? How do we build valuable businesses from the township? How do we apply all this big English that we speak at Starbucks back to our businesses, Kokas? Because the businesses are there. I know more people trading Kokas than I know people trading in Rosebank.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? How do we then simplify the English? How do we apply the same standards? Kokasi. So for me, the early days were really difficult. Difficult in a sense of conceptualizing the whole thing and seeing it first, because I can't build what I haven't seen. Not personal. That's why even when I speak to my graphic designers, I have to draw a doodle first, say, this is how it must look, because I have to see it first, right? So it was really difficult, but when the turning point happened, I was like, okay, cool, we're building an industry. And my mentor at the time, Musa, said, you have to build backwards. You have to say, what am I building 10 years from now? Okay, 10 years from now, I'll be this and that and that. If 10 years was today, what would I be needing? If I was there now, what are the key things that I would have to have? And you're like, okay, I would have to have this, I would have to have that, I have to have that. Oh, okay, cool. Start building those things now. So that you don't wake up 10 years and you don't have them, right? And so I had to be like, okay, 10 years to build an industry. It's going to take longer than 10 years, but like in a 10-year period, what are we going to need? Okay, we're going to need a school. We're going to need a curriculum. Okay, cool. Let's put that together. Who do I know who can do curriculums? Lebo knows how to build those things. Boom. Lebza, build this thing. Gaji. Okay, we're going to need the curriculum to be CETA accredited. Who do I know? Oh, this lady who works in mama. You know? So then you start working towards that, you know? So for me, but simultaneously building a business, still paying salaries, still, you know? So it's been wild. It's been wild times, man. It's wild to be crazy. I've been crazy for 10 years. And people still don't get it. People still think like, I'm a fan of
yeah.
you know? So, but it's dope. I think it's dope.
I think it's hard to, it must be so hard to have a vision for what the future will look like and trying to explain it to people in the present.
It's the worst. Drive me to depression. It drove me to depression because I couldn't understand why people couldn't see it. I was depressed. Like I couldn't get out of bed because I was like, I'm frustrated because why are you acting like this if we're going there? This is not necessary. You're being emotional. You're being emotional. This is where we're going. None of this is important. And then a year later, a person realizes that. And I'm like, you wasted a year. Now we must go back there, you know? And then I got frustrated. But then I was like, I'm outsourcing this vision. No, it's no one else's responsibility. You know, when you start a business, when you're a young entrepreneur, people lie to you and say, especially on podcasts, they say, your employees, they must buy into your vision. No, only big corporates can afford to do that. Small businesses, people are there for money. People want things. Chances are you can't even afford those people. You still want to sell them your dream. Chill out, dog. People want to get paid and go home and pay cash yangwana. Don't come here and say, I can't pay your salaries because we're building. It doesn't work, dog. It doesn't work. You know? So I learned that the hard way because I expected entrepreneurship from employees. You can't. It's unfair.
Yeah, because the reason why they're there is not the reason why you're there.
Yeah, and people, I that's why I'm quiet, dog. I just keep quiet because people are like, yeah, people don't see my vision. If you're gonna work for me and you don't see the vision, you can't work. I'm just like, people want to apply Coca-Cola principles in a small business. Coca-Cola can afford that. If I'm giving you 50K take home to be a receptionist, you better buy into this vision, bro. But if I'm giving you 3K to run around the whole country,
and I want you to believe on top of that,
so that realizing that your vision is your own, and not being frustrated at people for not seeing it, and understanding that people come at different parts of the vision, and a person must at least understand what the vision is. It's not your responsibility to sell them the vision. Some people get it, some people don't. And those who get it, trust me, they'll get it for only a period of time. Right? People are seasons. Employees are seasons. People want to be like, this is my employee from day one. Very rare, dog. It's very rare because the business evolves. We evolve. They evolve. They want to get married. They want to buy a Jaguar. You can't afford that. You can't afford to pay them that as a startup, right? That's why I've always said to all the team members, if you think you want something else, I'll be the best reference you'll ever had. Because I don't think people's destinies are tied to me. I always believe that I'm a stepping stone, and only a few people go all the way, you know?
Yeah.
So,
you're talking a lot about people. How important do those people and the community become to helping you build what you've built? But also, what is it like managing people through the growth of the business, right? Like you're saying, some people will be there for longer parts of the journey. Some people are just there for a season. They're there for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. And some people will dedicate and be there for like longer because they're like, you know what? I understand as much. I might be getting money, but I actually think like I want to be here, you know, and that's important for me. How important have people been to your journey? Whether as a community to help you support that business, or the other side of this, which is like building a team and managing them through the growth of the actual business?
Community has carried Walkfresh for 10 years. Through COVID, through whatever. Walkfresh has always been like a community project. Always. We haven't paid for things that people really, really pay for because people really believe in that. That's why I'm always stranged out when people are like, black people don't support each other. I'm like, which black people can tell you guys?
Because the ones I know.
It's always strange. Like, honestly, Danga, it's always strange. I'm just like, because the black people that I'm around, that I know, band over for black businesses, like put their jobs on the line. You know what I'm saying? So for me, Walkfresh has always been a community project. That's why the door is always open. People know, like even young entrepreneurs know, you call us, whatever, right? Because it's always been like a very community-centered thing. And on the other hand, managing people has been the most difficult part of my journey. Like literally, everything else I can manage. Everything else I've found my way around. But managing people has been really difficult because it's people. People change, people evolve, people grow. And if you're gonna have compassion towards yourself and growing and evolving, you have to extend that to the next person, right? And I've rebelled, I've pushed back on the ideas and the understanding of how to interact with your team when you're a startup. As South African entrepreneurs, we're very overwhelmed and shoved down our throat with the Western context of entrepreneurship building. We've never been taught to build in our context.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, you just said building with a team, and having people who are there for 3 months and then they leave, and having people who are there who see their vision. It doesn't happen like that. The reality on the ground is that when you're starting a business, bro, it doesn't happen. I don't know someone who'll say to me, yo, Ntanga, I've been with this person since day one and I haven't been able to pay them the full, but they've been here, right? And if they're going to say that, after they say that, pull them to the side and say to them, what have you been through with this person? They'll tell you about how that person stole from them. They'll tell you about how that person spoke smack about them. They'll tell you about how this person didn't come to work. And they'll tell you all the sad stories, right? And I can say this because I've experienced all of that, right? And it's almost like because it's not a nice thing, we don't talk about it. But the dark side of it is our biggest heartbreaks as employers and entrepreneurs comes from our employees. And I say to every entrepreneur, if you have a problem with them, fire them. My mentors say fire fast and hire slow, right? And I would like to be here and say, yeah, you build with people, and it's not the case. People hurt us. People steal from us. People talk bad about us, and you look back at your life and like, I've put my life on hold to at least push this, and there's not even a thank you, right? And then you have to bring yourself back and say, thank you for what? I'm the one who put myself in this, right? So why me thank you? Because it was a contracted place, people came, right? Yeah. So that's why the context that we always exist on is the co-founder. Co-founding doesn't happen in our ecosystem, in the reality of it, because there's not enough money for us to go around. No, there isn't. Yeah. And the separation of responsibilities always gets blurred. Yeah. Because we still also haven't been taught to deal with our egos. One wants the title of CEO, the other one wants the other one misappropriates funds because, you know what I'm saying? And these are things that we have to go through. Our ecosystem is too young. We have to go through those things, but it's difficult for us to navigate them because we don't speak about them at that level. Yeah. We always want to portray it as, we're building, this is my, we are burnt every day. Ask any people that come here, say to them, What's your churn? Like how do you what's your retention rate? They'll tell you the truth, dog. They'll tell you as you grow. Actually, I'm talking about as you're scaling, right? Because there was a point. I mean, to this day, I still turn down interviews and media, whatever, right? Because there was a point where I was so popular, it frustrated my employees because they thought I was rich, right?
Because like, I have a perception of your success that doesn't match how much I'm being paid.
There's no way this guy is on Kaya FM, but he can't pay me 9,000. This guy will. Where else you're like, okay, we need the PR, we need to at least with the visibility. This person's looking at their pay slip and they're like, nah, dog. And then they hear how people talk about the company. This work fresh, and he's just like, man, this guy, no ways, dog. This guy, one rob. But you know what I'm saying? Like, people will be saying like, I'm mandla way too loud. So matching that, balancing that has been very difficult. And I had to be like, oh no, actually, it's too much noise here. I need to go back to building. That's why I'm grateful that I'm always able to bring myself back and say, why am I here? I don't want to be popular. I don't want to clean sneakers. I've been invited to an interview and I'm like, I don't have petrol money. And they're like, no, but this is PR. And because I studied PR, I'm like, it's not. Because I won't be able to convert it. If your radio station has 2 million listeners, your show has 2 million listeners, I can't even convert 1% of that because of my capacity. So I'm coming there to help you work. Because when we're patal after this, at my expense, I'm driving from Daveyton, So I'm sober enough to make those decisions and calculations and say, no, actually, So people have been the most difficult thing. The easiest way to manage people is with money. Culture, company culture. No, give people money, my boy. Don't buy people pizza. Don't do that. Don't make no. Give people money. And back to what I was saying, I believe in the process. In me knowing and be able to say give people money, I know that people have to earn the money. Right? And then okay, what are the systems in place? I can give you the money, but this is what you're going to do. Failure to do this, this is what's going to happen. How's a spanner? How's spanner? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if I had the money early, I wouldn't be able to know how to do this because I would have thrown money at people, right? And people would have stayed probably, but people evolve. Mutasavai, I don't know how to keep them because I say about lezaga.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But today, because I went through that process, I know now how to navigate situations like that, and I know how to get my money's worth also with the team, and I also know how to exchange value with the team and say, bro, I see your potential. If you do this, this is where I'm going to put you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
You know, you're talking about this. There's a lot of, startup entrepreneur, founder methods that are becoming a lot more popular now, where it's like, okay, this is how everyone should try and build a business. And then on the other side of this is like the work that I'd say your generation of entrepreneurs, and like there's specific examples, I'd go thesis even, what Bulelani is trying to do with T as well, where it's like you're writing. Some people say rewriting. I'd say you're writing the township entrepreneurship narrative from scratch. And so now you've got these two differences, right? Like this founder, startup obsessed, like this is how you should do things, which almost feels like very dreamy. It's like maybe it's not rooted in the reality of South African entrepreneurs. And now you're writing this new narrative that's completely, that now becomes the blueprint for future entrepreneurs that go, I want to start a business, more diploma, and try and solve a problem from my place. How do you think the narrative that you've built over the last 10 years, how would that story be told? But also, how do you think about legacy?
I don't know how that story is going to be told, bro. I've always tried my best to this day to remove the I, right? And I've been in meetings where I'm saying we, and people are like, who's we? And I'm like, ish, I don't know how to say I, right? Because I've always taught myself or forced myself to fight the ego, right? That's why I've had an offer to write a book on paper, like offer on paper, write a book, and I couldn't sign that offer because I'm always fighting my vanity, right? I'm always fighting my ego because I'm thinking if I write a book, then I'm talking about Lethabo. What do I know, right? I'm still trying to figure this thing out, right? So I don't know how the story will be told, but one thing I know, maybe people will be like, because that's how I move. Yeah, that's one thing I know that to this day, like the homies know, But as to how people interact with what we do, I don't know. And I say rewrites because I always acknowledge the guys that did it before us. This is my senior. These are my seniors. Mofresh is 10 years. This is 20 years this year, right? And I always look at them and other entrepreneurs, but specifically thesis and saying, okay, how have the boys done it? Right? And because I'm very competitive, I'm a bro. I don't do achashem. I don't do siazama. I'm very competitive, and I'm like, I need to beat these niggas, bro. Like I always tell them, I need to have more stores than them. I need to have better distribution than them. I need to, and because that's my attitude, even when we talk Lebona, it's always at the same level. There's never a big bro energy, which is really dope for me. I'm very privileged in that regard. But I think we always say rewrite because there is like a blueprint, and we're challenging that to say, how do we do this better, right? And the hope is that even leading to after let's be right? They could have actually done this because that's the beauty of youth, where you think right? And that's where I was, and that's where I am. I'm just like, now open a store in Cape Town, dog. These guys are playing, and in diving into that, I learned so much, and I'm hoping then a kid after me will say, then hopefully it turns into something else. But for me, in terms of what I think about it. I think I'm still too deep in it.
To even reflect on like the full.
Yeah. And I'm scared to reflect on the full, right? Because I'm scared of arriving. It slowly dawns on me that it's 10 years. I'm just like, hey, bana, yeah. And immediately I push back because I'm like, nah, we're getting started, right? But it took for me to crash, for me to slow down. And what ambition does is it takes away your gratitude, right? I had to crash, slow down, and say, okay, we're still going somewhere, but we've done good. We're somewhere. You know where we were? Machita in saying, okay, Kabona, Tabang Nalingo, Simang, you know, oh, okay, cool. You know, being able to take it in and then, but still saying, axe. Axe, my bro. No fear, no favor.
Yeah.
No fear, no favor. Bro. That's just how it is for us. And it took me a long time to accept us. I get us, I mean the other entrepreneurs, right? Where I was at a conference the other time, everyone is trying to, I think I was with you, I was like, everyone is trying to innovate, but no one is trying to innovate for the hood. Like, this is crazy. Like, is that not a place? Do people not live there? But the weirdest thing is that people from the hood are trying to innovate outside of the hood. And I'm like, which validation are we looking for? Who are we trying to get to pat us on the back if we're not solving our own problems, right? And as I went into it in trying to raise capital, I realized, oh no one's going to give me the money. I don't look the part. I don't speak the part. I don't want to be liked. So it's problematic. So then I accepted that. And once I accepted that, I was like, oh no, ask, then we'll do it. You know, we'll like, this is what we want to do. Okay, Bash, what do we have? Stinga to klipa lapa. Aslangane se klipa, nyazo bano sky klipa. Because if you want to go apply for what, it doesn't happen. Like, you know, so yeah.
What's your experience of South Africa's startup ecosystem from a development and support perspective, right? Like what you're talking about now, like straight up, you know, no one's going to give me the money. And by the way, this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs say very openly and like honestly, like, no, maybe my business does not look the way it's supposed to look for certain investors to be able to say, you know what, we're going to back this person. And in having this Hux mentality, which is like, we're going to find our own way, but also bring the community with us where maybe there's someone rather than an organization who can help us bring this to life.
I got into a bit of trouble when I said how I feel about that. But the trouble was also very whack because it didn't do anything to me. Like, and I said to one of my mentors, I'm like, you can't cancel me. My clients are in the hood, dog. Like, what are you gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
So I can say what I want to say because it's the truth, right? But how I feel about that, I've thought about this a lot because I've been in the space for 10 years. I've been in a couple of programs myself, right? And my final thought is the ecosystem is incapable of building entrepreneurs. Because in its current form, if you were to change it, a lot of people who are in key positions, their lives would change. We need to be kept in a constant state of boyhood, of childhood, for the ecosystem to stay alive, right? For example, I always say, for the past 10 years since I started, probably before, but since Nagatoma Work Fresh, South African entrepreneurs have been told to start. The ecosystem hasn't been able to say grow. You can start a business. You can start. And we said, okay, we started the businesses. We need to grow them now. The people in the programs don't know how to grow businesses. They don't know how to scale businesses because they haven't scaled their own businesses themselves. They've been doing an enterprise development program the same way for the past 10 years, right? And I've always said, with over $1 billion plus going into that space, where are the jobs? It's simple math. Like, it's not a Lethabo thing. It's simple math. If these programs as they are, if these agencies as they are working, show us the jobs for the investment. Okay, show us the ROI. We're teaching entrepreneurs business. Show us your business. It's simple. You're in business to train entrepreneurs. What's your ROI? Jobs. Show us the jobs that we're giving you money for. It's simple, right? And there hasn't. Instead, we're seeing a decline in a creation of jobs by small businesses because of the lack of support. So it's like South Africa as a stand. It's like the jurisprudence of South Africa, where the legal system has to stay as it is, because if you change the legal system, you force now to include black people in the functioning of the country, right? So you have to sustain this legal system. Like our constitution makes this possession right. Legally, it makes this possession of land legal. So for you to get land back, you need to change, and not even change, to remove it and put in a new jurisprudence, a new law to say, as black people, this is how we're going to govern each other. Instead of us giving you a 10-year sentence, our corrective measure is us taking you back into your community, understanding where your dad is, blah, 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 whatever, right? So equally with our ecosystem that you and I exist in, you have people that host annual young business awards who've never ran businesses. Ke sponsor bona. Now I always say to my boys, right? It's their hustle. It's their hustle, because for you to develop an entrepreneur, you must be an entrepreneur. For you, my brother, this is not even rocket science. For you to teach an engineer, you must know something about engineering. We are being taught by Super Saint employees, people who left their jobs because they know the procurement officer in Nedbank, wherever, span for 10 years, my entrepreneur development program, build the guidelines, the booklet, and you keep entrepreneurs in your workshops the whole day. And then they have to catch a taxi back to their township. So I'm saying, this is my lived experience, right? No one can fight me with this. This is what I'm saying. It doesn't work. If it works, show me the jobs. Okay, never mind. Entrepreneurs are not in business to create jobs. Entrepreneurs are in business to make money. Show me the money they are making. I can show you the money I'm making. Right? Outside of that ecosystem, outside of the programs, right? When I join a program, I'm very specific. You can ask anyone I've been in a program. I say to them, before I join, this is what I want. I need a shop. I need this. I need this. I need this. And if you guys don't have capacity, then I can't join this program, right? Because I'm not going to be here for your PR campaign. If you see me in a program, dog, just know this guy is getting paid somewhere, somehow is getting something, right? Certificate of participation. What do you mean?
Yeah.
You know, I've had to teach myself today, my friend, business partner Thabo, was teaching me how barcodes work. Batch numbers, barcodes, you have to buy your barcodes from GS1. Your barcodes have to be linked to your GL. You know what I'm saying? My mates taught me that. No program teaches us that, my boy. But funny enough, the people that fund these programs are retailers who have the information. But because for you to know that information, or Hispanisa guy, we're not even there. It's not necessary for us to teach us that. Because they keep us here. Start. Do you have a tax clearance? Hey, none of the entrepreneurship program teach us how to register for VAT. They themselves are not registered for VAT. For you to be registered for VAT, you must be doing a bar above. They don't register for VAT because by spread and you we know how this thing works. So now, in closing, the ecosystem is not working. You can challenge me all you want. It's fine. That's fine.
But it's important to say, it is your lived experience. And you've seen entrepreneurs go in and out of programs, and some hop programs.
Also, specifically black entrepreneurs. We don't see the white entrepreneurs in these programs.
No.
And chigi, but Bauladi shop across the country. I've been in Cape Town long enough to see shops pop up and I'm like, why are these guys getting the money, bro? Right? And they get them from the programs. So we stay in the constant state of boyhood, like of begging. And I'm like, don't give me money. I always say to all the programs, don't give me money, pay the supplier. If you buy me stock, I'll sell the stock. Now I know how to make money. You cannot teach me how to make money. Buy the stock, buy the machine, buy this, I'll take it from there. right? And I'm grateful that there's entrepreneurs that take advantage of that, of the grants. Some entrepreneurs just live off grants. And I'm like, tanga age, at least let there's someone eating this thing.
Yeah.
Because some entrepreneurs just like, they must just give me the money and they move from this and that, right? So for me, my lived experience in the past 10 years, if this works, where are the numbers? If this whole budget that they allocate, show me some numbers that are challenging the current status quo in our economy, are challenging this current youth unemployment, the current failure rate of small businesses.
Yeah.
Show me that, So that's my 2 cents, bro.
The way you have to think when you start versus grow versus scale is all very different, right? I think of start as being the containers. In Daveyton, or maybe even before that, when it was just like just a kid's backyard,
Stoop.
And then the container, and then the deal with sports scene where you've got multiple distribution points. Can you walk us through that process? Like, what is it like being an entrepreneur that's going out of start, going into grow, and then now focusing on scale?
It's fun, number one, right? I'm grateful that entrepreneurship hasn't taken my smile away.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm grateful. I'm still having
because
fun.
it can do that.
It does. I've seen it. I'm seeing it with all my friends. I'm seeing it. And I don't blame them. I get it, right? But I'm grateful that I've fought tooth and nail. So it's fun because, like I said, I'm obsessed with the process. Like the things that I learn every year, I'm just like, yo, dog. Yo, this is crazy, right? Like today, I was sitting with Thabo for like 40 minutes and he was telling me, no, you get your barcode here. The barcode is actually linked to the box. Like when you when you brand the box, when we scan the box, we must know. Yo, I was like, hey. These people know these things, right? So for me...
Just by the way, I don't know, man. I want people to notice how fucking excited you are to talk about this barcode process. I think that is just like, that's where I love entrepreneurs when it's like that obsession of like the smallest detail being so important.
Yeah.
And you learning again being something that fuels you with passion.
Yeah, right. So for me, I think my obsession with the process is my obsession with, if I get this information, I'm good at translating it, Kokas. One of my skills is writing and communicating. My friends always say, it's wild how I flip from English to Kasi in one sentence, right? Because after I learned all of this from Thabo about barcodes, there's a kid who's selling pine gel, right? Who's like doing good numbers, but I ain't a barcode. Right? And but I'm gonna cut the journey short. Instead of me, I've paid 3,000 for 3 packs. I'm gonna say no, but because now I'll always figure out the shortcut, right? I'll always figure out the hustle. I'm like, no, So moving from a backyard to a container, to a few other containers, to a collabo distribution with sports scene, to manufacturing products, to distributing those products to 200 entrepreneurs across the continent, to the next move as the 10-year evolve. The best part has been the process, the things that I've learned that you can't take away from me, right? And that's why I get it. If I had funding, and I wish I did, because I don't want to talk as if it's a bad thing, you shouldn't be funded, you shouldn't have. I wish I did, in retrospect, as a person who started at 23, who's 34, I'm like, I could be doing this at this level, right? But because I didn't, I know how to move a product, not even how to move it, how to manage the pH levels of a detergent so that it doesn't scar you, it doesn't eat your skin, to picking the right fragrance for that detergent that makes people feel good when they smell it, to putting it in a bottle, to putting it on a shelf, and to a person buying it. And because of that information, I believe Kausani, Nkai Rekisa, It's a shampoo clap. I can do a shampoo for a shower gel because the process is the same, right? I've never thought Walk Fresh is my be all. I've always felt like Walk Fresh is I used to say when I was studying, Walk Fresh is my airport. I need to gather everything here. And once I take off one day, bro, it's going to be crazy, right? So for me, in moving in those steps and paying my school fees has been very expensive. Financially, on my family, people have been born in my family that I only saw later because I wasn't around, right? My family, my personal life, on my health. The school fees has been that's why the first thing I said was excruciating, right? But that's why I have low patience for weak entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs that they found. I have very low patience for them because I'm just like, yo, bro, like, what do you think this is? Right? Go back to work then, right? The reason why not everyone does this or not everyone does this at this level is because it's not easy. And if that's the standard setting of it, wow, you know? So for me, in moving and growing and hitting walls and finding ways around the walls, I've always been grateful and passionate about the process and taking notes and going back to the entrepreneurs and soul survivors and say, oh no, this is how you build a POS. The reason why you must pick today I clean 5 sneakers because end of the month you must know who stock so regularly matches what you made. If not, someone is stealing from you. If not, you have spillage. You're using more than you should. If you spent less but you made more, find out what you did and do it again. Right? If we have a POS, then 10 years from now, we can say to Nike, you are selling the wrong sneakers in the hood. This is the sneaker people buy.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how I see it. The in-between, right? That's why the barcoding thing is so wild for me because then even as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yo, this means that's why I go take a lot. The GTIN was linked to another company because they can say barcode wrong. And I was just making up the barcode because I'm not going to list the product on take a lot because I have a barcode.
Yeah.
They don't know that I don't have a barcode. Then copy. As long as people, that's my edit. That's what I do, right? And now that I have the information, I'm going back to take a lot and setting it up.
Yeah,
nice
we'll
now.
fix it now.
So you'll fix it, right? that's how I do it. Right?
Yeah.
So for me, I think it's really just purely the obsession with the process and not arriving and just saying what's next, and building.
Tell me about not arriving.
Not arriving is. I believe arriving is knowing and thinking that you know. And the minute you think you know, then you can't learn. That's why I don't believe in specialists. Specialist sang. How sure this person can learn anything else? Right? If you're a packaging specialist, are you constantly learning? Or so you professor, right? And you're saying, this is what this module is about. And we're saying, forget your module. This whole curriculum is wrong as it stands. We're saying this curriculum in the country right now is wrong. We need a decolonized curriculum. So where does it put you as a professor, as a specialist? Because we're saying wrong in its entirety. So not arriving for me is being a kid and being creative forever. That's why even when I do Soul Survivor conferences, I listen more than I speak. Because I'm always thinking, hey, these boys probably know something I don't know. Because they clean sneakers every day. I'm busy in emails, meetings. These boys are still there. Maybe strategy these boys have something.
You need to update the system.
Yeah, right. So that's why the older I get, I'm tending to listen more because I'm scared of arriving. But equally, owning up to my experience and knowledge and say, no, I know what I'm talking about here. But if you know better, counter me. I'm open. I'm not saying, I'm not challenging. I'm saying, Sheba, that ain't so. If we're no better, yes. I do this to the team all the time, especially with new teams. I say, if you do this to a sneaker, this is what's going to happen. Mara, I can't no say every day. And then Nike, you're shopo. Yes. And if what I said is going to happens, you're paying. And if it doesn't, I'm paying. Yeah. Then I come back following day, Eshingamla.
So.
You know? So I'm not modest with my experience. I'm not built like that. But I think I try my best. And I'm not gonna say I want to be humble because that whole theory of humble yaren is weird because it's also like a euphemism for us to stay low,
Yeah.
to stay shy,
Small.
to stay small. Nah, dog, I don't subscribe to that. I still want to grow, and I've earned my stripes. I'm not here by coincidence. So if humble means I must not say that, if humble means I must say, hi, Sazam, bro, we can't be zamming for 10 years.
Can't be starting.
There's something
for
we
10
know.
years.
There's something we know. For 10 years, there's something we know. But we're still learning. We're still growing, you know.
Even in this process of like learning and growing, you've also dedicated yourself to be a mentor at scale with soul survivors.
Yep.
Talk about what that is, what the intention is, but what you hope the impact will be.
Soul Survivors is an institute for sneaker cleaning and cobblers. As Black intellectuals and Black middle class, I always hear people talk about, we must build our own schools. Education is important. But no one does it, right? Because it's easy to be an activist until it's time to be active, right?
When the sacrifice is
right. So for me, I don't like complaining about anything. If there's a rock there and everyone is driving past it, and my grandmother taught me that. My grandmother was like, if you don't like something, change it. Why are you asking other people, right? So for me, I was like, first of all, we don't have a shortage of entrepreneurs. So you need to stop telling entrepreneurs to start. They've been doing that with or without you saying it. We have a shortage of skilled entrepreneurs. And these are the skills that I'm learning the hard way, right? And because I'm a hustler, I'm able to find my way around, right? But there's not a shortage of entrepreneurs, there's a shortage of skilled entrepreneurs. And the reason there's a shortage of skilled entrepreneurs is because there's a shortage of people that can teach them those skills. Because our entrepreneurs right now are motivational speakers more than entrepreneurs, right? And they talk about theories and they have a whiteboard and they write whatever. And then a client says, I'm not paying for this. Okay, I see you have a disclaimer at your own risk. I'm not paying for this. What are we doing then? There's no YouTube you're gonna watch for that, my brother. It's on the ball experience, right? So for me with Soul Survivors, I said to my best friend Bashi, I said, Ntwana, so 10 years from now, how many Lethabos do we have across the country? Right? How do we duplicate this krach? This naivety, how do we duplicate it? Because I know at some point it's opela. I've watched what the system does to guys like me, the guys that talk like me, the guys that have the type of confidence and zeal I have. Eventually, bro, it silences you one way or another, right? Either you get tired, or then you have to be within this, like the whole ecosystem to be able to be impactful, right? So for me, with Soul Survivors, it's really how do we duplicate what we've learned as quick as possible, right? And how do we cut the red tape and say, don't go apply with those guys. Apply with these guys. Actually, forget applying with these guys. You want retail space? Speak to this guy. It's going to give you a shop. Don't pay rent. Tell them they must put you on your ESD, whatever. You know, because we've done that, right? So with Soul Survivors, it's like, how do we build not just an entrepreneurship program, which there's 1,000 of them? How do we build a skills development program? Because entrepreneurship is a skill. How do we then say, this is how you hustle for a lease? There's something called the beneficial occupation where you don't pay rent for the first month. This is how you negotiate your escalation. They're going to say 7%, fight for 6%, right? Things like on the ball. These are things that are happening, right? So that's what Soul Survivors is about. And I'm grateful that we have entrepreneurs that are not fearful. They're just like, but we're gonna go there and watch sneakers, bruh. The worst thing is to say they can say is no. And I'm like, if they say no, call me. Because I know whoever's saying no to is scared themselves. I'm gonna speak English, then they're gonna think I'm someone important. And that's what happens. And the boys call me, I'm like, yo, who's this? Who's your manager? Yeah, please give your manager. No, my manager's not here. No, it's fine, they can stay sharp. So guys, I'm not sold.
The other part of this is like developing products that can now support this ecosystem of, you know, sneaker cleaning businesses across the country.
Yeah.
What's that process been like? But also, what does the future of that part of the business look like also?
That process has been great because we got an opportunity to learn manufacturing as Workfresh. But more than that, the biggest problem we had in the industry is that people that were selling us products were people who didn't know how to clean sneakers. No one from Plush knows how to clean sneakers. No one from Kiwi knows how to clean sneakers the way we do, right? And the products in the market were only catering for home use. And as to attest what I was saying, the industry is too young. No one was manufacturing for bulk, right? There's bulk laundry detergents. You can buy 20 kg of soap, whatever. But no one was doing that for sneaker cleaning. And I was like, okay, if we're building an industry, we have an opportunity to create products that speak specifically to bulk, right? And we did that successfully, man. The numbers say a very good story, right? And we've seen ourselves evolve in that. And now, 10 years later, we're saying, we've bulk tested these products. Over 1,000 liters of whatever. How do we put this in the house? How do we give this to Mashudu? Because we had to, like I said, African context. Everyone who's selling sneaker cleaning detergents right now is selling them in this size. And you have 5 pairs. Even logically, you're just like, this small thing, right? And we're saying, actually, this is the Asmo State.
Yeah.
Right.
We're going to find our own way.
We want to find out our own way, and that's what we're doing. I'm so excited about that. That's what we're doing for 10 years, and it's going to be really challenging. But I think the best person to buy a sneaker cleaning product from is a person who cleans sneakers.
Yeah.
I just my logic tells me that. So I think we ought to be doing that, So that's the most exciting part about it, to say we've been manufacturing and fixing and altering and reverse engineering products for the past 8 years. Now, so yeah.
How do you measure success?
I measure my success by my level of peace, like how peaceful I am. And my peace is linked to the things that are important to me, because if I know those things are sorted, then I become peaceful. If then I know I become peaceful. So I measure my success with the less noise I have in my life. Then I'm like, but I measure my business success with the number of people we impact. And I don't believe in creating jobs. Funny enough, I believe in creating entrepreneurs. So I look at the number of entrepreneurs that we impact, that we engage with, that we supply products, and I have a high standard. I always say to them, don't come to me doing the same numbers you were doing last year. What are you doing this year? Where can we help you, right? So I measure my business success with the number of entrepreneurs that we're able to impact and scale in whatever way possible, But personally, Lethabo, I measure my success peace. That's why I give a noise my life in dog. I want a peaceful life, bro. Then with business, it's like how many entrepreneurs, how many businesses can say, because we engaging with these people, we have 2 more people that are doing this. We are buying, instead of 5 liters, we're doing 20 liters. Because that's how I measure. Okay, it's in this stock of 5 liters. So this stock at 20. Okay, they're span, So for me, personally, just peace, bro, because none of this is permanent. None of this is permanent. All of this is fate, good or bad. So it's like, right now, how am I peaceful right now? Am I able to sleep? Because we're insomniac as entrepreneurs. Am I able to sleep? Am I able to deal with my demons? Are the voices in my head like silent? That's how I've come to measure my success.
Yeah.
The koloi, ling. Those things come and go. We buy those things. You have a nice car. It makes you feel good there and there. And then you remember your uncle that's late. And you're just like, this guy didn't see me buy this car. Then you backset again. So, but the peace, man, just like the peace. I think I've learned to value the peace.
Is there something you would have done differently with the information that you know now?
No. Please, you're kind. Everything is everything. Whatever had to happen, happened. And most of it were in control. I always say to my friends, if you don't decide, life decides for you. If If you don't go on TV or you don't create your own channel, whatever, eventually someone's going to do it.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, you're going to be depressed because you're not doing it, right? So if you don't decide, life decides for you. I decide first. I relocate before my business requires me to relocate. I go into a warehouse before I have to go into it, because by the time it happens, I'm already there, right? So I don't regret anything, bro. No, and when I say you're kind, it means, yeah, we'll see when we get there, but we're going to get there. We're not going to try to think of whether we're going or not. So, no regrets. Nah.
So we had this conversation 10 years ago, or maybe 8, I don't know.
8, it was 8. I was counting, it was 8.
I think it's 8.
I was counting.
We had this conversation 8 years ago. We're having this conversation now.
Yeah.
When we have this conversation in 10 years, what are you going to tell me?
Yo, in 10 years, I don't think I'll be in the country, bro, but I'll make time for you. But in 10 years, you're my boy, I'll make time for you. In 10 years, I'll say to you, we did it. I'll say to you, we did it. We started the school. We distributed the product across the country. We're driving Porsches. We did it.
Thank you so much.
Bit.
Cool.
How are you, my boy?